The invitation beyond is about learning to be uncomfortable. It's about learning to go into those dark places. It's about being able to sit with yourself, being able to sit in the quiet, sit quietly and go into the darkness and go into the discomfort and go into the big questions and the curiosity of like, what is it in me that is wanting to find ground, that is wanting to find balance, that is wanting to find meaning through this. And you found prayer, meditation, quietness.
Welcome, everybody. It's time once again for the next chapter with Charlie Hedges, as he explores turning the page on his life and yours.
Hi there, and welcome to the next chapter with Charlie. We are so excited to have you with us. Our special guest today is author, speaker, Morgan Rich. Morgan's latest book, The Invitation Beyond, and I just saw two books. I'm not sure. Is this your latest book or your...
This is my latest. Launch Your Life is the first one.
Launch Your Life is the first one, and so The Invitation Beyond invites men to clarify how we show up in healthy partnerships, empowered career choices, and meaningful family relationships. Let's find out more as we get Morgan Rich on the show. Morgan Rich, welcome to the next chapter with Charlie.
Well, thanks so much for having me, Charlie, and just want to honor all the beautiful work that you do in the world, putting this energy out there and asking good questions and following your curiosity into interesting places. So it's
curiosity is big in my life.
I know I can feel that.
Can you?
Yeah, in the conversations we've had and in the episodes I've listened to, that your sense of wonder, your following your curiosity seems like a meaningful thing for you.
That's interesting. When you say sense of wonder, that is my goal in life. My goal every year, I set a goal, which turns out to be the same goal every year, and it's to experience wonder.
Yeah.
I got a quote the last time I was in my last vacation in Japan. I found a quote that said, "I no longer take vacations to sightsee. I take pilgrimages to experience wonder." And that just changes your whole, if you're there to see the Eiffel Tower, that's one thing. If you're there to experience Paris, that's a completely different thing altogether.
Yeah, and I even like the idea of the pilgrimage is actually right here. It's right here in this moment, in my yard, in my home, in my meditation, that I can find and really aim to find as much wonder in sitting, watching the flowers bloom this spring, in feeling the spring air showing up, in observing the mountains and the birds and the relationship between the natural world and myself. Like, to me, the wonder starts right there.
Oh, it's every moment. Yeah, the
Yeah.
wonder is every moment.
Yeah.
But it is when you're in a foreign country, there is a whole different experience of wonder.
Indeed, there can be. Yes.
That's wonderful. That we go on one or two international trips a year and very much enjoy them and enjoy the cultures that we enjoy and the cultures that we find out more about.
Yeah.
That is beautiful. So let's talk about your book. Tell me, what is the premise of your latest book?
Yeah, The Invitation Beyond, reclaiming healthy masculinity. Master the challenges of happiness, joy, and freedom, and intimacy. And the idea really started, Charlie. I would say the book wrote me more so than I wrote the book, and it comes really from that sense of curiosity and wonder that we just talked about.
Okay.
What I like to say is listening with the ears of my heart. And I was listening, and this message was sort of knocking here, saying like, hey, I want to be in the world. There are stories to tell. There are ways to be that we want to invite. Really, it started with thinking about heart-centered men who really care, men who are sensitive, men who have a story to tell, who I know are wanting a bigger expression in their life. And the invitation was the invitation beyond the status quo, the invitation beyond what I call the trance of the normal world, the invitation into our hearts to bring the beautiful uniqueness, the beautiful sensitivity, the beautiful aliveness that does exist in so many men forward into the world. And of course, it's not just men; it's women, it's young people. That as I wrote the book, as I was sharing about the book, as I was putting it out in the world, researching, writing, so many beautiful stories came out of the incredible sensitivity of, I like to say, the witches and the wizards. You know, those capacities that aren't, that you don't learn in at university, that you don't get from school. But
No, no.
what is it that makes each person unique? What is it that is the gift that each person wants to bring and is here to bring to the world? So that's the invitation beyond the simple, beyond the surface level, and into the beautiful expression of what's possible.
That's interesting. You would talk about heart because I'm really into heart these days.
Yeah.
And I had a podcast that I did with a friend called Ash Perot. And he said, our vision comes from our heart. Our head creates the tools to access or to activate that vision. But the vision comes from our heart. The vision doesn't come from our head.
Yeah.
The vision comes from our heart. How does that quote strike you?
Yeah, well, it seems to me like the thing that we want to do is really get connected to our hearts and get connected to what is is that expression that wants to come alive inside of us. You know, and I think in our culture we tend to do a lot of head work, a lot of thinking, a lot of reasoning, a lot of, you know, trying to figure things out. And what I find, again, part of the invitation beyond is into that heart, is into the quiet. We were just talking, you know, before we got online, was about meditation, about quiet, about sitting, about getting to know places. And so getting to know our own heart and getting to know what are the expressions? What is the thing that I know I need to say to my partner, to my kid, to myself, to my boss? Like, what is the expression that really wants to come alive and is really true for me? And so that to me is where the quote comes, is, yeah, let's keep listening. Let's attune more and more and more and more. And I would say, you know, the feminine is brings the heart forward in this beautiful, gorgeous way of birthing forth that depth.
Okay.
You know, so.
You know, I had a very interesting relationship with my son because we played baseball and
Nice.
I was the manager of his baseball team. So from, oh my goodness, 5 years old to 14 years old, I took him to tournaments. So we lived in an automobile.
Yeah.
And that driving to and from places. But we were just talking about how that developed within us the ability to converse, that we have deep and meaningful conversations. We don't just we didn't just talk about baseball, we talked about life.
Yeah.
And it was just, you know, I think, and I've talked to other people about it, there's something about kids and car rides that, you know, especially if you have solo kids, you know, because we're an only parent.
Yeah.
We have we just have one child, that the conversations are just fantabulous.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you get it is a beautiful, beautiful time. And because, you know, one, you're sort of contained there. And so if you go with your theme and your desire of curiosity and wonder, which is so beautiful, sitting in your car with your kids, what I always found was, you know, we would sing, we would laugh, we would play, you know, we would be looking around and telling stories about people or about things or about whatever they might be. And also on longer car rides, just allowing silence, allowing the imagination to do what the imagination does. That not every moment has to be consumed with something meaningful, with something, I want to say that differently. Not every moment has to be consumed with noise, with sound, with some kind of input.
Right.
It can be consumed with boredom, with staring at the trees and wondering, with just the simple, beautiful quiet of a car ride. And Then there's also the place of what I notice is, when I work with teenagers, there's the whole when they start to drive part. And there's a real we were talking about big D death and little D death again before the show. And the time when the kids get old enough to drive and then drive on their own is actually a really significant transition, loss, opportunity, birth of a relationship shifting, because you lose those beautiful moments, Charlie, of having that meaningful time with the kid.
Yeah, you lose beautiful moments, but you gain other ones. You know what I did? About the time my child learned to drive, I changed my role. I changed from parent to consultant. I realized when he's driving, he's not going to, he'll pay attention to me, but he's not going to do what I say. He's going to do what he wants to do. And that all depends on how I've raised him. And so then if I act as more of a consultant rather than a parent, it really made for a beautiful, beautiful relationship. And to this day, he's 33 years old. He's a professional baseball player. Okay. And we were just talking about it and how when we are together, and we still love our car rides to and from the baseball field, where we don't have anybody else in the car, just him and I. And that's where we have our conversations. It's in the car.
Yeah, very special.
And it's a very special place for us. The car is a very special place for us.
Yeah, yeah, and that's that's a beautiful thing, Charlie, and kudos to you, for the place of being able to transition and allow that time to, like I like to say, a certain part of life dies, like you said elegantly, but also a new part is born. And so, like any forest fire or like any, in the natural world, death and life are always right there. And so when something dies, it opens space for something else to be born.
For something new to be born.
And we have to honor and grieve the loss, and then also welcome and honor the birth. So that's that transformational energy, and being and making it, doing some kind of honoring of that is significant. And there's a really important piece, that you were able to do, it seems like, which I think many parents, struggle with, is, many people, I think, is you have to have a really good sense of yourself to be able to make that transition.
You do.
If your identity is tied up in, my kid is a baseball player, this is the relationship I have. I'm the one who, I need this relationship in order for me to be okay.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Now you're talking dads on a baseball field.
Yeah, right.
The worst people in the world are dads on a baseball field.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's a huge crisis in actually the umpiring world, where they can't find enough umpires because there's so much pressure and so much criticism that comes their way because of the boisterous and aggressive parents. That, I mean, this is true in all youth sports, that there's fewer and fewer officials because of that.
We had we had a club team. We didn't have a local team. We had a team from around the county, and we were very good. We won 6 state championships and 1 national championship, and so everybody wanted to be on our team.
Yeah,
this was the team, but there were rules to be on our team, and you know what your number one rule was? If you want to lose your place on this team, complain about your child's playing time. Because that's for us. We decide your child's playing time. We will honor your child's playing time. We will make sure your child gets in every game, but your child may not be a starter. You may think your child is a starter. We don't. And if you think your child is a starter, take them to another team. Mm-hmm. That's fine. Mm-hmm. And we had no complaining parents in the stand. We had none. 0. If you complained if you were a loud dad, you were asked to leave the team.
Yeah,
It just
beautiful
was.
boundary. It's beautiful boundary setting. It's allowing people to what I like to say is be your highest self. I call it, be the man you know yourself to be. And what you're doing in that place, it sounds like, is inviting forth the part of that dad, the part of that parent that knows better, that knows criticism, complaining, disrespecting either the coach or your kid or the ump or the game isn't the pathway forward. So that's beautiful, Charlie, of allowing and opening the space for people to show up as the invitation beyond, right? The invitation beyond the nonsense, beyond the bad behavior, and
Yeah.
into what?
So far we've been talking about a healthy masculinity. You write a lot about an unhealthy masculinity.
Yeah, well,
Or
yeah,
we talked about that on the
we
phone. I don't
talked
know if
about
you write about that. We talked about that.
yes.
So talk to me about unhealthy masculinity.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting thing. It's funny. I don't write about unhealthy masculinity or talk about unhealthy masculinity a lot
Oh,
because
we
I like.
did.
We did. That's right. We did because you started asking about it and your curiosity kicked in and brought it forth. Because for me, I like to shine light on what's possible, on the healthy, on the side of this is what we have to live into. Just like you offer that place, not only for the dads in the baseball field, but also for the kids in the dugout. To say we are going to
Oh,
respect
yeah.
this game, we are going to respect each other, and whether we win or we lose, what we're about is being good human beings. Yeah. And to me, that's that healthy masculine boundary setting. And you
It
can
was
see it right
healthy.
there.
It's good. It's healthy. It's good and healthy human beings on the baseball field as a team. So your team is more important than the individual. The team always was more important than the individual. That's why we won so many state championships, because we weren't about individuals. Even though we had the best individuals in baseball, none of them thought that much of themselves. I've got 7 players that played for me that play in the big leagues now.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I coached Little League also, and I coached my kid playing baseball also, and played baseball um, myself. Love the game, and for me, we had equal amount of success because what we did was we respected the game and we respected the kids. And my kids weren't super talented. We didn't win state championships. We actually lost a good amount. But I would say we had just as much as success as you had because what we were doing is
Yes.
developing character. We were developing respect. We were developing a love of the game. We were developing playfulness, teamwork, camaraderie, the ability to win with grace and dignity and lose with grace and dignity. I mean, even in some case, there was one time a parent who came to me and said, "Hey, I don't think we should keep score because I don't know if the kids can handle it." And I said, "No, with all due respect, if you don't want to keep score, like you said, like go find a different game. Like in baseball, we keep score. And if we're
Yeah.
going to see
Yeah.
if like the kids are keeping score, like they know if we're
The
winning or losing.
kids know. The kids
Yeah.
know.
So if we're not doing that, we're actually betraying and denying them an experience of playing a game because in baseball you win and you lose, and in fact in baseball you got to be really good at losing because you got to be able to let go of that and step into the next game, the next pitch, the
Oh,
next
yeah.
at bat. It's crucial.
It's always that story of how many sports can you lose 7 out of 10 times and be a winner.
Right, right. So I want to come back to your question about the unhealthy masculine because I think it is significant and I think it plays in right here.
Okay, perfect.
Right? Which is that you witnessed it with those dads when you said this isn't okay right here. Because what it is it's behavior that is disrespectful, that is trying to push an agenda or push a narrative that is good for one person but maybe not for the whole. It's
Right.
it's it's like it's acting out. It's not being that biggest self that we know how to be. It's not being connected to your heart. And so in the world today, what we see a lot of men, we see a lot of bad actors out there who are trying to control and manipulate and dominate things. And it's
Like,
like
who
the
are you
book.
talking about, Morgan? I'm curious of these people,
Yeah, well, I mean, um,
besides our president.
yeah, I mean, they're right. I was going to say, like, there's a lot of leadership, but it's not, like, yes, right? There's just a fundamental not being a very good human being, not treating people with care and respect. The way that the interaction with reporters happens, the way the interaction with people happens, it's like the bad dad in the baseball field. We don't do it that way. We do it. We act with dignity and respect. So just the Epstein files as an example. I mean, and that is not about the president. It is about the president, but it's also about a lot more than that. It's about
It's about
men,
a lot of stuff.
a lot of stuff, a lot of stuff. And so there's an example of unhealthy masculine, um, of really unhealthy masculine, and from people who are really prominent and leaders. Deepak
I
Chopra,
know,
Noam
isn't it? It's
Chomsky,
shocking.
it's and so to me that is saying that our model of success in the world of be really famous, make a ton of money, have all these books, do be visible, it's not working very well. Because if all those people who are, Bill Gates, among the most wealthy, successful, prominent people, are able to do that kind of behavior to young women and women in general, that is not healthy. That is not a model that we want to be sharing with our kids or anyone in the world.
Don't you
And
find
so
that to be rather uncommon, though?
our president, the leader of our country, is one of the most prominent. All these other folks and people are
No, I
seeing
mean common.
it, but it's right. But it is. If he's the leader of the country, right? And again, I'm not just naming him. Where it's like it is more prominent than we think. There's another um, website out there that I don't really want to name, but it's about men raping women and putting it online, which is getting their wives actually, and it's getting millions and millions of views every month. So it's not just a couple bad actors. The unhealthy masculine is prominent. It is all over, and it's impacting in a way that it's having us distracted from what you were saying, Charlie, and what you did so beautifully on the baseball field and with your relationship with your son, of being able to be present, of being able to listen, of being able to bring your care and your talent and your gifts forward in the world. Like, that is a huge gift that isn't happening as often as we want it to be happening in today's world.
You know what's really interesting, and this was a discussion we had before the show,
Yeah.
is that I don't know personally anyone like that.
Yeah. I know people in my family, men, who are struggling with alcohol,
Yeah.
who are struggling with video games, who are struggling with depression, who are struggling with gambling, who are struggling with just not feeling connected, not feeling meaning, not feeling like they're actually bringing themselves in the world. So I can go and say, like, well, this is happening in the culture. Like, I see it in the people I work with. I see it in the men in my
Right.
groups. I see it in the
Right.
hockey locker room where I play hockey. I see it out there, in the leadership. But it's actually right here. It's like in my life every day. And so, and it's painful to see it, because I feel like we've lost our way. We've lost that connection with our heart. That's what I see. Because why else would I be gambling? Why else would I be drinking? Why else would I be, Epstein filing? Manipulating, dominating women, feeling like I need to be, powerful in that kind of way, if something weren't really out of balance inside of myself.
Why do I see addiction, Why do I see addiction as different than that?
I don't know. What do you think? Place for curiosity.
It's because, addiction to me it's part of hiding who you are. It's trying to get away from, it's dealing with the pain that you faced as a child. Addiction is almost always pain that you faced as a child and that you're trying to overcome later.
I would say it is yes, and it is pain that you are currently experiencing. It is
Oh,
that
yes.
that
Oh,
being
yes.
to
Yes.
yourself.
Yes.
It's about like you said, like the way I say it is you wouldn't be that the addiction, whether it's gambling or alcohol or porn or whatever, sports, it could be a lot of different things, is something that is distracting me away. It's distracting us. And it happened that whatever the particular thing is,
Okay. Okay.
is pulling us away from self. It's distracting attention on here's who I am. Here's, that you can't feel great about yourself and feel grounded and present and loving and full of, having friendships and all those different pieces. If you feel those things, it's really unlikely that you're going to be addicted to things. The addiction.
I found it completely different
Yeah.
because I have morning rituals where I do inspirational reading, I
Right.
write, and then I go and I pray every room, every day, and I'm into my heart. I'm
Yeah.
definitely into my heart. But I did that as a recovering alcoholic and with tremendous pain that was in my heart. But I was able to overcome that through a whole different number of processes. But it took years.
Absolutely. And so the process is what I would say is in that darkness. And really the way that I would say the invitation beyond is about learning to be uncomfortable. It's about learning to go into those dark places. It's about being able to sit with yourself, being able to sit in the quiet, not unlike what you've done. So through the alcohol, I don't know your story, but it seems like from what you shared, you were an alcoholic. It then
Alcoholic
triggered
and drug addict. Yeah.
and drug addict, right? And so you're acting out. So
But I
there's
was very
something.
functional, but I was always highly functional. Highly,
Okay.
highly functional.
Yeah, and so and there's still something that's unbalanced. That's because you wouldn't be drinking and doing the drugs if there weren't something that were out of
Absolutely.
alignment, right?
Absolutely.
And so
Yes,
then
that's
you
very
go in
true.
and again, beautifully, Charlie, you go in and you're like, okay, well, what? At some point, you get to a place where like I got to stop this because I got to get in alignment with myself. And so you go and sit quietly and go into the darkness and go into the discomfort and go into the big questions and the curiosity of like, what is it in me that is wanting to find ground, that is wanting to find balance, that is wanting to find meaning through this? And you found prayer, meditation, quietness. And what I would say is, we'll come back to the healthy, unhealthy masculine. That what the unhealthy masculine in that situation, instead of going in and healing and doing the darkness work and going in and and asking what's going on, just tries to plow through it and pretend that everything is okay. And just say, well, this isn't about me, it's about you. This isn't me place to take responsibility. It's about everything outside of myself. And that manipulation and domination and trying to put that outside of self is where that unhealthy energy comes in, instead of just taking responsibility like you did.
And what does that energy look like?
What does the energy of responsibility look like?
The energy of the unhealthy person look like?
it looks like staying in the addiction and blaming others. It looks like watching your life spiral and not taking responsibility of going and, going to treatment, getting a job, being functional. It looks like self-destruction. It looks like being unkind to yourself. It looks like harming the other people in your life and around you,
Hmm.
causing pain.
Hmm.
It looks like losing jobs. It looks like not being able to get a job. It looks like hanging out in your basement playing video games or being addicted to porn or, you know, um, unhealthy behavior towards family, friends, women, whoever it might be.
Yeah, fortunately, I wasn't raised that way. So, I was raised always toward kindness and being good to people, kind to people, responsive to people. I was raised in a very egalitarian family where there were no male or female roles.
Yeah.
So we didn't have, sort of male dominance and female. It was equal. It was always equal. And same thing in my family. My family is the same way now, as it's very equal.
Yeah. 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 To me, the question is, when I see, I always wonder about my curiosity goes to the places of what are the stories behind the stories.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
what and where and
yeah,
where are the stories and families, because we all have wounds and gifts, we all get wounded. Like, you can't, even in the best family, the family that is perfect, whatever that means, there's pain, and there is challenge, and there is difficulty, and there is struggle, that no one gets out unscathed. And so, what are those places inside of us where I like to say the wounds are? Because where the wounds are is where the gifts are. You know, the
yeah. There's a lot. I'm doing a lot on Enneagram right now,
yeah.
and Enneagram talks about our wounds being our giftedness.
Mm-hmm.
Our wounds lead to our giftedness.
Well, the wound of addiction and the alcoholism and the drug addiction. For me, I'll say it for me, which is my dad died when I was 18, and it plunged me into darkness. And I didn't go the route of drug and alcohol. I went the route of feeling. I went directly to the to the depth of the darkness. And in that, I became really intimate with what it feels like to lose an adult male figure in my life, to lose my dad, to lose my
Yeah,
friend. And so, in that struggle, in that darkness, and there was a lot of it, a lot of loneliness, dancing with, I wasn't ever suicidal, but not sure I wanted to be alive. It's really painful.
yeah,
In that, I got really intimate and knowing of how do you hang in challenging, difficult places with myself, but then with other people. And
yeah.
so the wound becomes the gift because I'm so intimate with all the feelings and knowing
Exactly, exactly.
that I know what it's like to sit in transition, in transformational moments, and have to really feel.
Yeah. Are you familiar with Richard Rohr?
I am.
Yeah, Richard writes about that a lot,
Mhm. Yep.
and his show is about that a lot.
It is, yes. It's beautiful, beautiful energy in the world of really being able to be in the difficulty, in the discomfort. And what I like to say, Charlie, and what I talk about in the book is about how do we train the infrastructure, I call it. We got to get the
Oh,
structure on board to be able to be in life's uncomfortable places. We have lost the ability to, because there's so much distraction in the world. Again, we have a phone with us all the time, most of us, almost all of us, that can pull us out of our life in just a moment. It beeps and it buzzes and it pulls our attention and our focus out of here. We can easily access sports scores, porn, games, like, right away. So the ability to be uncomfortable, to hang in that moment, sitting in the car where there's no music, no sound, and you just have to stare out the window and be bored for a while. Now we have videos in the back of cars where you can watch videos all day. So we're on a screen instead of with the wonder of just allowing ourselves to be in the quiet.
Yeah. You know when this occurred to me, when it was big for me, was I retired at 65, and then at 75, there was a major transition where
Mm.
all of this became real.
Mm-hmm.
And the issues that bothered me once no longer bother me.
Mm.
I am just comfortable with my life. I have a free pass. I have a pass to a movie where I can go to movies 4 times a week for
Mm.
$28 a month. I can go 4 times a week, and I go to movies probably 3 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy the film, see them sometimes twice, and it gives me a sense of completeness,
Mm.
a sense of joy that I don't have to worry. I don't worry about things. My wife and I don't worry. We're not rich, but we're financially okay.
Mm.
And so we don't worry about those things that you worried about 20 years ago, or that, you didn't necessarily worry about, but think there were things you were concerned about. Those are no longer concerns in our life.
Yeah. Yeah, and there, there's a place of um, one is welcome to that age of life. Yeah.
It's a beautiful age. It is so cool. I love the 70s.
Yeah. 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 And for some people they can be really beautiful, and others they can be challenging because we each have our own unique story and our unique, our unique path.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I'm really struck by in my groups, I have some older people and some younger people. So we have a 70-year-old and then a 20-year-old. And what I find is that there's a place of that the young guys need us older guys. I want them to be able to look out into the world. I wasn't when my dad died and I was 18. I looked out into the world and I didn't see men thriving in the way that I wanted them to be thriving, connected to their hearts. I saw a lot of successful men. I saw a lot of men doing what they were supposed to be doing. I saw a lot of men comfortable with their lives. But what I didn't see so much is men really in the depth of life, who I respected, who I wanted to model myself after, who I felt like were in the trenches, struggling with and being present with the realities of the day, the realities of what is it to really be an elder, not an older, but an elder.
Right. Right. An elder.
Someone who has done the work, someone who has not gotten the certificate that says, hey, now I've graduated to this particular part of my life, but who has actually been in and is in the trenches in a way, is in their life, in their relationship in a way that inspired me to say, okay, that's somebody who's not caught in all the nonsense of the day, who's not championing, who's not caught in external variables of this is what makes me successful, but who like really brings that love and that heart and that depth into their daily life. Like, to me, that's what I needed, and I couldn't find it, frankly, for a long time. But it seems like that's something that you're in the dance of. Like, how do I really show up in my life in a way that is has depth and meaning and purpose?
Oh yeah, always. Meaning and purpose have always been major criteria for me. That is what drives my life, is meaning and purpose.
Yeah. 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 And how does that translate for you into the movie going and the time of spending time doing that kind of thing?
Oh, that's a great question, Morgan. No one's ever asked me that question. I think it's, it is a bit escapism,
Hmm.
and it's a bit just I enjoy the genre. I enjoy seeing films twice, and I watch them with two different filters each time
Hmm.
when I see a film. And I enjoy the art form. I love the art form.
Yeah. And what would you say is the escapism part of it?
What is the escapism part of it? I don't know that it is escapism. Maybe it's not. Maybe I spoke incorrectly.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's worth to me. That's where that we talked earlier. I don't know. I don't remember if it was before the show or during. But that sense of wonder and travel, and you do a lot of travel. And for me, the sense of wonder, it happens. It happens again. Something I talk about in the book is about getting good at discomfort and getting good about being present with the circumstances that exist right here
Right.
in my about getting quiet and being able to be like I don't need to go anywhere to experience wonder. I don't need to have some travel the world in order for me to be full of wonder and joy and presence and aliveness. Like I got it right here. Like I can go into my yard and find I could spend hours just being curious about the birds. But so what happens in that place is when I notice myself, I'm a sports fan. So when I notice myself starting to watch sports, when I notice myself starting to follow the Cubs, go Cubs,
Go
and be
Cubs.
curious about their the culture. I'm intrigued by the culture, but I start to wonder, like, okay, I'm spending more time distracted and than I am with myself. And I get curious about that of, okay, is there something in me that is escaping, that is uncomfortable, that is maybe not looking into a place that I feel like I could, should, would, that then it offers a window for me of noticing. And the answer is different. Sometimes I just go because I enjoy a baseball game.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there are other
Oh,
times when I'm clearly uncomfortable and trying to numb or distract myself from something that my heart is saying, like, oh, I gotta have a conversation with my kid about this. Or I told you my mom just died, and so it's like, oh yes, okay, there's something there that feels, I'm a little bit, there's some sadness there. Or one of my clients is dealing with something that is on my heart. And in the moment, it's easier to than it is to engage with it.
yeah. I think, what I think my issue is I bore easily.
Hmm. I might say, what a gift. What a gift. It's like sitting in the back of the car. That boredom to me is the birthplace, is the foundation of creativity, of possibility, of when I get bored, then I'm able to sit and then I can, again, I would say part of the practice of that I talk about in the book is meditation, is daily practice, and then is cold water exposure. And the idea being, can I be right here with this breath? And I like to say, I can do this breath no matter what's going on. When my mom is in pain, when she's in the hospital, when we're getting the diagnosis, there's a huge amount of sensory input that's coming in. And I like to
Uh-huh.
say, okay, here I am. This is one of those moments of life that is offering a huge amount of stimulation and a lot of input. And I can do this breath. I can be right here. And for me, that's the boredom place. Is being able to
I
sit,
like that. I
be
think
with
it's a
wonder.
great idea. Boredom is the sort of
pathway.
the genesis of creativity.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Yes.
I'm very creative. I
Yes.
I live in the world of creativity.
Yeah, and so that's the place where I get curious about, when you say you go to a lot of movies of like I go, oh, interesting, where is that sitting quietly place, and being in the place of like what could be birthed out of that place.
Oh, lots of things are birthed out of that place.
Yeah.
So as we're running close to time here, tell me, what message would you like to leave to our audience?
Yeah. Hmm.
Is there anything special?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple different pieces. One is I think the work is to fall in love with yourself. Is
Okay.
to is to really find a place where you establish home here with self, meaning that you know yourself and
Yeah.
you trust
Yeah.
yourself, right? You
I
know yourself,
concur.
trust yourself,
Yeah.
and then get familiar. Do a 5 minute per day, not unlike what you were talking about, Charlie, right? A morning practice of coming home and connecting in with the person, the man, I like to say, the man I know myself to be. So I spend that quiet time, not guided meditation. You can do that, but eventually you just want to sit quietly with self
Yeah.
and, and connect in with what does it feel like to be the best version of myself today. And I
That's
take
a
that,
great question. That's a great close right there. What does it
yeah,
feel like to be the
and then I use
best
that.
me today?
Yep, exactly. And then I use that as a guidepost. And then I do that every day because what I know is if I don't do that every day, then I tend to forget what that beautiful part is. I get lost, I get confused, and I forget the man I know myself to be. So what I would want to leave the listeners with, and thank you for listening, is learn to come home. And then from there, beautiful things can expand and you can be in the relationships and love and that we desire.
That's great. Morgan Rich, thank you so much for being part of the show.
An honor, Charlie.
Okay, and I also want to thank everybody for tuning in to the next chapter with Charlie. And until next, this is Charlie Hedges signing off. Bye for now.